Hello folks, this is Mike. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now, do you have this problem when you drill your pin blanks? Notice on this end, it's pretty well centered, and of course this is usable, but look at this end. It's almost on the edge of the board, so this one's scrap. I can't use this. And I did it on my drill press. So instead of fooling around with these wooden jigs, I decided to go ahead and buy a dedicated pin vise made just for this purpose. So let's take a look at it. The vise is made by Fulton. Now they've been around for over 100 years, and I purchased it for about $50 from Peachtree Woodworking through Amazon actually. And I'll put a paid link in the video description if you want to check it out. And while we're unboxing it, I'm going to put some specs on the screen like dimensions and capacities and etc. Also, remember that this is actually a centering vise only to drill the holes in your pin blanks. It does not have the capacity to do double duty as a pin assembly press. You can remove this plastic cap from the end of your turn screw and just chunk it. You won't need it again. The only assembly required in the whole setup is to back out this little screw and washer. Now you can then install the handle crank like so, and run your screw and washer back in and tighten. And you can use either a mid-size flat or Phillips screwdriver here. Now when you're buying one of these vices, this is important. Some of the cheaper vices actually, the jaws when they tighten up will have a little slack or play in them. That's not good because you'll end up with an off-center hole in your block like this, or in your blank rather. So you want to make sure these are good and tight. So there's a little slack here, but when you tighten it up, it's solid as a rock. Now this has a magnet on the end of it, so let's see. That is maybe either stainless or aluminum. Must be aluminum. Steel. Steel, steel. If it's magnetic, it's carbon steel. Now you'll notice it has a wooden base on it, and this is a sacrificial block. It slides in this slot right here. So when you're cutting, when you're drilling, it's supposed to drill into that instead of your base. And this is just 1/4 inch masonite, easily replaceable. One thing I do notice here, there's no mounting holes if you wanted to mount this to some sort of plate or jig. So everything really feels good and solid, and believe it or not, there are no plastic parts. Now the next test is to go drill our block and make sure these slots are cut perpendicular to the base. Otherwise the hole will be off center as well. Before doing anything else though, I installed a larger bit and used it to level up the table with the square. That's because if your table's not level, obviously you're going to be drilling tilted or slanted holes. And when this is done, I'm going to change over to the proper bit. Now let's see how it drills freehand without being secured to the base. So I've taken my blank. Should be exactly 3/4 by 3/4. I've centered it, put centering marks, and I've tapped it with a punch for a starter hole. I've also installed the sacrificial block here. So let's put it in. And I'm going to attach it. There we go. Now I want to line it up and jiggle it back and forth a little bit to make sure that that brad point slips into that indentation we made with the punch. Okay, let's get it out of the vise and check it out. Pretty good, huh? That's more than usable. Okay, I started off slightly off center, if you can see that, and I finished up the same way. But if I'd set it right, this would have been a perfectly drilled blank, and we did this freehand. So I would say these holding slots right here are perpendicular to the base. And here's my 8mm tube. You see that works just fine. Now while we made a really good hole free-handed, I really prefer to make a jig assembly like this for better precision. Okay, I've got my drill bit centered right over the hole. I've got this tightened into place. So I made a board the same size as my drill press table, and then I clamped it into place. I've also drilled mounting holes in the base of the vise, which probably destroys the warranty, but I did it anyway. And then I ran down the bit to its lowest position, and then I secured it with a bungee cord up under the drill press. Now when I close the vise jaws around the bit, it will be centered. Now you can run in your screws. And now the jig is set up. Next we can put in our blank, which has already been marked and punched, and we can go ahead and drill our hole. And as you can see, it turned out pretty good. Now before we talk about the Vise's pros and cons, please go below and like my video. And if you want to see more like this, click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Now remember that this is a vise that's designed with one singular purpose, and that's simply to drill a perpendicular hole in your workpiece. And it does that over and over and over again. And when it doesn't, it's always because I screwed up and didn't set it up right. Also, it's well made. It's all got metal parts, it's got a steel screw, and no plastic parts at all. It does have a wooden base. That's kind of the downer. And I say it's a downer because I just think that a metal base would probably last longer over the years. However, one pro here is for the wood base is that it's not going to dull your drill bits. The other thing I like about it, well, let me show you what I did. See the hole in the bottom? That matches the size of the hole in my table. And I can run dowel pins or square stock up through the bottom of my drill press table, even if they're 36 inches long or better, secure them in the vise, and drill a centered hole at the end of them. So I think that's kind of a cool thing about this one. And you may be able to do that with other vises too. It's just easy because this one has the wood base. So I think for the novice or the intermediate woodworker and wood turner, this is a great vise. And I think that it's worth the money, certainly worth 50 bucks. And I think it'll last you many years to come. Now, if you do commercial work, you may want to consider moving up to a more expensive and more substantial vise. So folks, if you have any questions or whatever, please send me a comment and I will get back with you. And until next time, thanks for watching.